Nice.
There we go. We have two important special events coming up. One is August 22nd. It is the opening celebration for our brand new Anishinaabe exhibit, which was literally 6 years in the making. It's been a tremendous amount of work by a really excellent group of people. We're very proud of it. We want you to come and see it. There's great videos, great interactive things to check out. So make sure you come. We'd love to have you come August 22nd. It would be great. Our next special event after that is our Pie Social. That will be September 6th, Sunday of Labor Day weekend. We need pies. We need volunteers. So I'm going to pass out 2 sign-up sheets for this group because I know many of you are good volunteers, and we'll make a pie. We typically need 50 pies, which is a lot of pies. So. To make the day work. So we've got a long way to go, but feel free to do that. And if you're not a pie maker, I know there's a couple of people that don't make pies. They always have room for cake too, if you want to make a cake. So Vi is going to start us off. She's going to sign up for 10 pies herself, I know. And there's also a way to volunteer on both of those. So please come to both of those events. We have programs going every Sunday, so make sure you check those out. I'm excited. We got a couple of really cool ones coming up. We just also had the Barefoot Paddler on Sunday, who has GPS'd 2,000 campsites in the Bondwater. So every single campsite. A really amazing story last Sunday. We got, every weekend has got something really cool, so please come and visit us on the weekend too. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Jim Wiinanen, who is known by just about everybody on the Gunflint Trail. He worked at Wilderness Canoe Base for many years, was took over as director, did a lot, lived on site through a good chunk of time. He is done other jobs. He was head of emergency management for Cook County for a while, and a historian. He knows a lot about a lot of things. If you have any questions about Gull Lake, he is your guy. So Jim, without further ado, take her away.
Somebody might want to try it.
Well, I don't really know. I've never used it, but we'll see if I can get it. I can get you in there.
Yeah, there's been a few jobs. My grandson reflected on that at one point and said, gee whiz, Grandpa never could hold a job very long. And I won't get into the biography part, but an important piece for me is to understand that I'm still a guest up here. And this is what I acknowledge. I acknowledge that I live and travel in an area located on the traditional, ancestral, and contemporary lands of indigenous people. This is land that was cared for and called home by the Ojibwe Anishinaabe people and the Dakota people before them from time immemorial. Ceded by the Ojibwe Anishinaabe in the 1854 Treaty of La Pointe, this land holds great historical, spiritual, and personal significance for the Native nations and peoples of this region. I honor with gratitude the indigenous people who have stewarded the land throughout the generations and for their ongoing contributions to this region. By offering this land acknowledgement, I affirm, support, and advocate for tribal sovereignty and embrace the opportunity to build relationships based on trust, consistency, and accessibility, and offer allyship in a lifelong process of learning. And that's context for me. When we talk about the camp, I think and 70 years. So do the math, 1956. Think about the context at that time. Russell Blankenberg comes up here mid-1920s after World War I. Through that period, the Depression, there's still activity up here, starting resort, build a resort. Moved to Gull Lake in 28. And then Second World War, and what I think back on, I guess, is a real period of optimism in America, and things were happening. So you get to the 1950s, and to me, farm kid from up on the range, didn't know really any different, but learning later that there's still a big discrepancy between the haves and the have-nots. North Minneapolis being a case in point, and when you get to thinking about the start of Wilderness Canoe Base, 1956, I think a lot of people maybe have remember one name, and that would be Ham Moose, as kind of founder of Wilderness Canoe Base. Ham operated the camp for 10 years. At the 50th, he ended up publishing a book, Wilderness Witness, and even before the camp started, he acknowledged 20 other people, some from across the country, that contributed to the start of Wilderness Canoe Base. So it's not just one person. So many people, if you're going to think of Wilderness Canoe Base, this is what travelers probably see. And it's quite iconic. It's patterned after the bridge at Chik-Wauk State Park. But let's kind of look at that beginning. Where's Wilderness? Gull Lake. If you know where Blankenberg Public Landing is, that's kind of the scope of the place right now. So it started in '56 with a handshake with even Russell Blankenberg for this part of Fishhook Island. Quiet Cove Resort still existed, but it was not in operation. It ended operation in 1952, and Quiet Cove then changed hands to the Brady's and Hartshorns. So I don't know that they had resort aspirations, but it was a family place to be. Somewhere in that 1950 period, the Gunflint Trail got completed up to the campground, and at that point there was a driveway then that came in to Quiet Cove. Prior to that, Quiet Cove, every place down the lake, all had to come by water from the end of the road, basically where Seagull Resort was. 58, another parcel from Even Russell was added. The question mark, I've seen maps including that. This little island, I've talked to the Forest Service and they just chuckled and said, not part of the camp. 59, conversations then happened with Brady's. Hartshorns had exited. Did they build a place on the lake? Mark, you might? I don't know. So they're out of the picture. Brady's sold in '59, and then the parcel across was acquired in 1960. These are the names that the camp uses for those parcels: Fishhook Island, Dominion Island, and there's a reason for that, Timberlane, and the Cove. So then in 1982, this is gone. 1982, camp had been in operation for a few decades. Wilderness Canoe Base from the beginning was owned by Plymouth Christian Youth Center in North Minneapolis. And after that period of time, the board, in their wisdom and financial needs, decided the camp's not using that. The government was willing to buy it, so Timberlane parcel was sold to the federal government. First summer, 1957, under canvas. And just this spring, I talked to a staff member who was on staff, 1957, had to come across from the Blankenberg landing that spring, June 10th. The first people landing on these bare islands, there's no structures. Gets up to where the people are gathered, asks, where am I gonna stay this summer? They gave him a tent and said, find a flat spot, that's your cabin for the summer. But almost immediately they started to build small units that had a canvas top on it. And this is first year staff member Fred Norleen in one of the units. Here's a couple more from that period. Shortly after that, the canvas doesn't weather very well, so the shingled roofs were put in. But then a style starts to emerge. Board and batten, stick-built, lumber, I think mostly came from Otis Anderson in Hovland. Otis had a small sawmill, he saw it for everybody. Loads and loads of stuff started to come. So they needed to build for like any business, a kitchen and dining hall, a place for guests to stay, a tool shop, and if you're going to have your staff lead canoe trips, you need a trail shack, is what we would call it, trails building. So that started to take shape even during that summer of '57, except in '58 then, the Forest Service gets into a big program of starting to dispose of buildings in the Boundary Waters canoe area. And the camp, I don't know if this was wise or not, but they bid on log buildings on Basswood Lake. There's Seagull, Grand Marais, Highway 1, and 20 miles of ice road to get to the site where these lodges and private buildings were going to be sold off. So this was '58 and '59. The camp had acquired 9 log buildings up there on Basswood Lake. And Ed Thorson, some of you know, his logging trucks transported all of those dismantled buildings, 20 miles of ice road. That's kind of, I guess they did it all the time though, right? The last building to come out was it was named on Basswood Lake, Pine Cliff Lodge. And the Pine Cliff Lodge logs were loaded on a truck. End of the day, dark at night, the workers are exhausted, the truck is headed across the lake to the portage into Back Bay, and all the workers see the truck lights go like this. It didn't go to the bottom because the logs were long enough and spanned the hole. Everybody in Ely said, forget about it, it's a lost cause. But with engineering help of mining company, timbers, and the like, they were able to hook the rear end of the trailer, pull that back up, get the logs off to the side. It took about a week, and this is all in 30, 40 below weather. But log cabins then arrived and got dumped on the lake in January, February, and then had to be, before breakup, they had to get the logs off the lake to where the various building sites would be. And that sometimes used a ramp like that and pulleys, and use a truck to get them up. This main lodge, Pine Cliff from Basswood Lake, this is completed now in the summer of 1960, ready for 61, and unfortunately November of 60, overheated wood stove, and it burns down. It was 36 by 70. One of the largest log buildings in Minnesota at the time. Beautiful piece of work. Well, immediately start to replace that, and I'll call it Pine Cliff 2. 2 stories, lots of log work. You can see the gas lights. And that then served dining area, meeting area. There was staff rooms, some staff rooms upstairs, and a nurse's station, and all was good. As far as place goes, I arrived on scene in 1965, and there was electricity to the island. Electricity was what I call a fancy oven cord from the mainland underwater, got over there. But as things developed, there's more and more of a load, and brownouts were common in Pine Cliff 2. Oops. Pine Cliff 2, March of 1971, a little careless retreat group. March, they were drying out their wet clothes from activity out on the lake, put them over a floor furnace, and Pine Cliff 2 burned down, and Pine Cliff 3 was started immediately. Pine Cliff 2 had a 2-story chimney, fireplace upstairs, fireplace downstairs. That was incorporated then into Pine Cliff 3. All the timbers, again, Otis Anderson did the cutting. In addition to kind of the 3 structures, one is the bridge. The main lodge is sort of iconic, but then the third piece that people would recognize would be the chapel, which is on that Dominion Island. It was called Dominion Island because another log cabin from Evergreen Resort on Basswood Lake was located on Dominion Island on Basswood Lake. So they kept the name for the island here. Evergreen was built on the same island, and then the chapel went up. Designed with help from professor at St. Olaf College. Big timbers, the 2 tall A-frame timbers, well, all of the A-frames except the 2 were from on-site, Norway pine primarily to create the A-frames. And then The two big ones came from private property down the end of Gull Lake at Blomberg's property. And Blomberg's had some big white pines down there, good relationship with the camp. But those had to be skidded to the lake in the summer, floated across. And this was built then through that 60 to 62 period, I think. The first chapel, it's not even finished here, but one of the big open houses. I think one of the things to note, I don't think OSHA would approve of that at this point, but the artwork along the eave were like 3x10 cedar that were carved out and then painted as primarily bunchberry, and that didn't get finished either, resources and what have you. Using mature timbers for the chapel invited, even though they were treated, yeah, we can talk about chemicals like pentachlorophenol and carbolinium, did not deter the woodpeckers. At one point in the 80s, I was up on the roof and was able to pull out chunks of wood out of the A-frame that had been chewed up. So 82, the chapel then was dismantled, salvaged what was possible, and then replaced with a truss system through the A-frame to support the roof. And that has continued to serve the camp. So the log buildings, the bridge, the chapel, main lodge, kind of standard, right? But up there, we also got into a little bit of creativity for staff housing. I always like to have staff in two-person cabins, not dormitory like they're in college. So this particular cabin came from a relationship with Summit Door Company in St. Paul. I needed some solid core doors for replacement in the main lodge, but the guy had a call bin. We can't use these, we can't sell these. There's a pile of them, I think in probably 4 or 5 trips doing other things to the cities, came back and had in the neighborhood of lots of doors. The staff got upset because they were taking up space in the storage building. I said, okay, we need another staff cabin. So you can see a door, a door, a door. The floor deck is out of doors. The walls are out of doors. There were 2 operating doors. The roof deck was out of doors. The 4x4 timbers were part of a gift from a wood treatment company in South Dakota, where it made sense to go down and get a full load of this stuff that they were just wanting to get rid of. And all the buildings have names, so you know the name of this one. Out of doors. Okay. And then at another point, going back and forth, visiting headstrums and seeing them pile up cutoffs, and they would give cutoffs, 2-foot pieces of 2x4, 2x6, 2x8, shove it in a pile and burn it or let it rot or give it away. I asked if I could get some, and I came back with 2 or 3 pickup loads over a period of time. Again, the staff are just upset. Why in the world do we have all this firewood here? I said, well, let's make a staff cabin out of it. And so that cabin is all 2-foot pieces of 2x4. Window was salvaged from somewhere else. The door was made with other stuff around. And you know the name for that cabin?
That cut off.
Peacewood.
Oh.
Now a little bit about the program. You can read that. I mentioned about the people and helping with intuition, perspiration, determination. 1963, Wilderness Canoe Base was accredited then with the American Camping Association. Those of you that run resorts and so forth, you got the state, you got the feds, everybody's you know, down your neck, you got to do it this way, health reasons and so on. Well, camp is the same way, and then if you want credibility, you become accredited by the American Camping Association. And the program during the summer is a daily first word at the chapel, devotional in the morning before breakfast, last word at the conclusion of the evening meal in the dining hall, and then Sunday worship at the chapel, open to the public. What I would consider as a living and creating intentional Christian community, a daily heart set and mindset in how the place is operated. So thinking of program at Wilderness Canoe Base, most people think it's that place that does canoe trips with kids. And yes, it was originally modeled after the Ouija program, 12 to 16 days, then 26 days, and even a 35-day trip. Church youth came on in the 4th or 5th year of the camp, because the beginning part was the at-risk population. I talked about North Minneapolis. The pastors that started Wilderness Canoe Base in seminary had instructors that said, when you graduate, you can leave here, find that church in the suburbs, and have a nice life. But there's people that are needing help. Look to the inner city. Let's put some energy there. And this group did that and started Plymouth Christian Youth Center. So there's tripping programs, Sock Center, Homeschool for Girls, Red Wing State Training School, Ramsey County Boys, Totem Town. At one point, we were working with Native American youth out of a Canadian model called Rediscovery. Other special populations, we've had adolescent chemical dependency treatment programs. The Minnesota School for the Deaf had a deaf staff member for many years, which was great. And now a big relationship with the Minneapolis public school system and their project success. Women came on staff 1958 and co-ed camper groups 1959. More programming ideas, stuff that we've tried up there, backpacking, rock climbing, sailing, even on Gull Lake. College interim started in January of '75 through a number of schools. We also had the Illinois University Forestry School. Youth Conservation Corps, federal program getting kids summer jobs in conservation work. 3 years at camp. We had a camp at Wilderness as part of the Gunflint district, but then also a remote camp at Voyageurs National Park. Wanting to serve more and others, retreat programs started, families. Anybody remember Mark Hansen in Cook County? Mark Hansen started the Cook County Wilderness Therapy Program as a treatment program locally. so that local folks don't have to go to a residential facility or elsewhere. And that worked a long time. Did that move to Minojan? I think at some point, oh, yeah, it moved after changes happened. Women's Wilderness Adventure, that's a 60-year history. Women's retreat, start up there, comforted cabins, day trips. We want to do more. Okay, you do an overnight trip, Gull Lake. The same women did that. Well, we want to do a canoe trip before the retreat. Okay, so put a trip together. They're out 4 or 5 days. Over the years, they've done everything possible around Gull Lake. And then they got, said, you know, why should we come back? What else should we do? So I pulled out a map and I said, how about next year we drive you up to French Lake on the north side of Quetico Park and paddle back to Seagull. And kind of the core group, the same ones were interested in doing that. This wilderness experience has led staff to do amazing things. Career choices that you see here, other adventures, staff have paddled to Hudson Bay, the Yukon River, instructors at Outward Bound National Outdoor Leadership School, paddling the Mississippi and the Everglades. Let's see if I can. Yeah, 74, the Forest Service started to train staff in wildfire fighting, and 76 responded to the Roy Lake fire, had staff crews on Sag Corridor fire, Prayer Lake fire, and I looked at this as a way to start to get involved in the community. In fact, at some point, the rescue squad started. Do you remember the year? Yeah, I'm that old, I don't remember either.
Late 70s, early 80s.
Yeah, so rescue squad starts, somebody said, Jim, you want to be a part of that? Oh, okay. And you start out with a little green backpack with a tablet and a little pencil, and what else was in there?
Some ace bandages.
Yeah, some odds and ends. So that's kind of the start.
That's it.
Sorry, but Wilderness was trying to be involved in the community that way. And then at one, I'm not sure whose idea, some people blame me, but I think other people had the idea of having a youth hostel as a part of Wilderness Canoe Base. If you're familiar with hosteling, it's for typically college travelers, inexpensive places to stay, going to, you know, scenic and historic places. So we started Spirit of the Land Island Hostel, got an award in 2001. I think the hostel operated for 10 years, but change happens. The only constant, right? Getting into 99, the executive director position changed at Plymouth Christian Youth Center. 99, the stress of and trauma of the blowdown. The new executive director finalizes the lease then of Wilderness Canoe Base to Lake Wabagasset Lutheran Bible Camp in Amory, Wisconsin. Plymouth Christian Youth Center was going a different direction, didn't want a camping program as part of their ministry. So from 2000 to 2002 was transition. Those were my last 2 years on staff. After the blowdown, I got a sawmill through the philanthropic arm of, can't remember the name of it, on the East Coast. They shipped the sawmill up, band sawmill. So we were able to harvest blowdown logs and start to make our own lumber. got a skid steer for the same purpose, to be able to get logs off the islands. The changes then started in 2000. That's too dangerous, get rid of the sawmill. You don't need a skid steer, get rid of that. Okay. Jim Wiinanen, you don't need him, he's gone then in 2002. That's the kind of the program changes. And frankly, I don't know a lot of the details after 2002. Responded to a sauna fire as part of the fire department. And then being on the incident management team for the Ham Lake fire, and that's what the camp looked like after Ham Lake. Dominion Island, Fishhook Island, lost 40 of 60 buildings. Wow. On the mainland, lost one, an outhouse. So that, I talked about the place, talked about the program, and we're going to try, I might need your help. How can we open that? That was the thing, Bonnie was able to do it. No pressure's on, Mark, the pressure's on.
What's your challenge, Mark?
There we go.
Oh, okay. You got it there.
Take a second. Keep talking.
Oh.
Computer connected.
So, yeah, I kind of want to end with the people part. That's the part that's important all around, especially for the campers, for the staff as a community, and we can put the sound down a little bit. Yeah.
Thank you.
I don't really want to talk over this because I think pictures speak louder than words.
up on the Gunflint Trail, where the world felt younger and the days set sail. Wilderness Canoe Base by the northern borderline, where time slowed down and life felt redesigned. I see Gull Lake shining like a doorway to the dawn, and we were just kids learning where our hearts belong. Open their chapel as the sunrise broke the blue. First word carried on the breeze, the stillness knew. Oh, those summers never ending, filled with laughter, filled with grace. Paddles dipping in the waters, like a prayer in a sacred place. Living simple, living fully, with the woods as our closest friends. Oh, the memories still hold me in the place where the summers never end. Sleeping on a bridge underneath the endless stars, feeling small and infinite right where we were. Campsites down the trail, Miles Island, Lucky Penny, Bridgeview, Timberline, and 1,000 more if any. Paddling lakes that stretch forever, knife and cake, sagging over, shimmering like something hard to forget. Sitting under Eddie Falls, water pounding wild and free, learning strength in every current and humility. Oh, those summers never ending, filled with adventure, filled with grace. Paddles dipping in the water, like a prayer in a sacred place. Living simple, living fully, with the woods as our closest friends. Oh, the memories still hold me in the place where the summers never end. Storms roll across the lakes, with a warning in the wind. Angry waters rising fast, urging all of us to bend. We hunker down together under waterproof now, shelter made of laughter, trust in the will to carry on. There came still nights where the sunset dipped in silence, loons calling out their stories soft and timeless. Black-throated chickadees in the morning light, teaching us the rhythm of the wilderness so right. Oh, those summers never ending, where the world felt wide and free, paddling through the boundary waters, where the best of life found me. Living simple, living fully, where the wild and the heartland. Oh, Wilderness Canoe Base, you're the place where the summers never end.
The first 10 years is documented in this book. It's available online. You can go to the Wilderness Canoe Base website. It takes a bit of poking around to get down to Wilderness Witness. 300 pages for the first 10 years. The next 60 years, how many pages is that? Oh, I had something else. I've really appreciated Gunflint Trail Historical Society having the June Remembrance meeting and date. And the camp also has had people from passing away from way back. And I'm reminded of a passage from the book of Hebrews. Therefore, since we are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses, let us also lay aside every weight and sin which clings so closely, and let us run with perseverance the race that is set before us. Let's think back to the example of those who have gone before, receive inspiration from them to carry on the ministry, carry on life on the Gunflint Trail. It's important to not forget those folks.